From 1963, that's Dick Dale and The Wedge. Now, Dick explains an often misconception that he developed the reverb for a surf sound. The reverb that he came up with was actually started for something else.
The reverb, they called the surf sound, the wet splashy sound of the reverb. I didn't create that for that. I created the reverb because I didn't have a vibrato on my voice, and I wanted my voice to sustain when I sang on my songs.
Yeah.
Like you push on a pedal, sustain pedal, it sustains the note. So me and Leo started trying to design something, and he didn't like stuff like that. He does not like stereo. He wants monaural. He does not like any of those things that you put switches on the ground and you put your foot on. That's why I never used any. I got all my sounds from what I did with my hands on my strings. I turned around and we created an Echoplex, which was an echo machine. And I didn't like that, but it became a favorite to people wanting, so it went on the market to be sold. But we designed that. We designed a lot of things together. I did the first wireless with him, and I didn't like it. And whenever I came up with an idea, he would try to make it. And then what happened was I was at home, and I have a Hammond organ. And on the Hammond organ, there was a button, and it said reverb. When I hit the reverb, it sustained the note. So we created all these different things on the guitar and the Stratocaster. And then I pioneered, it was the organ. And so what I did was I took the whole Hammond, the organ apart. Inside, I found this can, and it said reverb, Hammond organ. And I go, that's it. And inside that was a couple of strings, and I turned around and took it out.
Yeah.
And I brought it to Leo. I said, Leo, this is it. So we made a standing reverb box, 3 tubes in it, 6K6. So anyway, the 3 tubes, 12AX, 12AX C7s and 7025s. And I plugged in my microphone, the type that Frank Sinatra used to carry with him everywhere, is the Shure Dynamic Bird Cage, we call it, Mike. And I plugged the microphone into the reverb, and I sang through it, put it through my a separate Bogan amplifier, and I sounded like Dean Martin. That was the beginning of me being able to sing with a reverb on my voice. So a week went by, and I'm always experimenting. So I even experimented with piano wires on the guitar. But anyway, so what happened was I plugged my guitar in it. I said, I wonder what that would be. And it took away the dryness of my the guitar, and it made it that splashy sound. But we had already sold over 88,000 albums. That would be like 4 million today.
Sure.
Over 88,000 albums on Surfer's Choice. That's the picture of me surfing on the cover.
Yeah.
There was no reverb used on that. And Ms. Lula was on that. Let's Go Trippin', everything.
Yeah.
The reverb came later, but writers, they picked up on the thing going, oh yeah, the splashy sound of the surf.
The Reach Around Rodeo Clowns are back with Rockabilly Deluxe, now available on vinyl. With their sixth and most ambitious album, Rockabilly Deluxe, the Reach Around Rodeo Clown's momentum shows no signs of slowing down.
I got the shakes. Big whiskey hell. I got the shakes. Yeah, in the morning, Daddy will be gone.
With their cash meets clash style, the Reach Around Rodeo Clowns are back with Rockabilly Deluxe. Now available on vinyl from Lanark Records. This is Jam and James Riley, and we just heard Night Rider from our guest today, Dick Dale, from his Checkered Flag album. DickDale.com has all of his upcoming tour dates, including June 3rd at the Hard Rock Cafe in Las Vegas. June 19th, Dick comes back to Hollywood at the Whiskey A Go-Go. In July and August, he's heading out to Denver, Omaha, Madison, Wisconsin, Chicago, Illinois, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Asbury Park, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, and so many more. He's going to be one busy fella this summer. Also, we just got word that he will be headlining Viva Las Vegas in April of 2016. Stay tuned for more details on that. Now, one of the most popular rock instrumentals of all time, some would say the most popular of all time, is Dick Dale's version of Miserlou. Now, he explains how this song came about. It from a simple question from a kid one night.
And when I first came to California, I played it when I was opened at the Rendezvous. This young kid, about probably 7 years old, said, "Well, you play and sing really neat, you know." And he says, "Can you play something on one string?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll do that. Come back tomorrow night, you know, and Friday and Saturday." And so I went home and I laid in the bed and I had tears in my eyes saying, "Uh-oh, they're going to find out that I'm a fake. I don't know how to play the guitar really." I started saying, "What am I going to do? What am I going to do?" And then I started saying, "Well, let me try Miserlou." So I tried Miserlou and I said, "Oh, that's just too slow, you know, the way it's supposed to be played." And I said, "They're not going to like that." And then I was thinking of Gene Krupa's drumming style. So I just went, like that. And I played it like that. And that's how it was born. And that's the whole story about that.
Dick Dale's Miserlou from 1962. Now, the song has been featured in so many TV shows, commercials, and movies. including one that turned him onto a whole new audience in the fall of 1994 with Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction.
When we did Pulp Fiction, Quentin Tarantino came up, my bass player, while I was on stage, and he gave him a note. He said, "My name's Quentin Tarantino, I got to talk to Dick Dale." Well, he didn't know who Quentin Tarantino was, so he threw the note away. So then Quentin found me in the dressing room.
Yeah.
And he said, "Dick, I've been listening to your music for 100 years. And he goes, "It's so powerful." And he says, when people make movies, they make a movie and they put the music to it afterwards by watching the rushes every day. But he says, I do it differently. He said, I play a song, and the song generates the energy, force, the power in my mind to create a movie from the way the song is played. So he said, I would love to use your song when you played it as the masterpiece of what you just played to create a masterpiece of a movie to complement the masterpiece of your song. So of you playing that song, Mizzaloo. And because he was so humble and so nice, and I knew that he had doors slammed in his face from all the big wigs, that I just said, you know what? And then he said, I said, who you got in? And he said, well, John Travolta. And I said, wow, because once again, John Travolta had doors slammed in his face because he was typecast. And they said, you can only do this kind of stuff. Plus, he was a pilot, and I'm a pilot. So I said, wow, you know what? Go for it. And then I was in Amsterdam performing. He came to Amsterdam, stayed at the same hotel I did. When I was home, I finally got a phone call, and it said, Dick, I'm sending a limo to pick you up and have you to come down to Universal Studios. I'm doing a pre-showing of Pulp Fiction. And I said, sure. So I went down, sat down, and I watched it, and all of a sudden, bam, there it goes. She goes, I'm going to kill every one of your mothers, and my guitar goes, da, 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 da. He started the whole movie off. So the end result was, this poor guy now turned out to have the last laugh on everybody because he ended up being the president of the Cannes Film Festival. He ended up doing these movies and so successful, he had the last laugh on everybody that didn't want to give him the help that he needed and the time of day, yeah. And look at John Travolta.
Yeah.
Now he ends up he's flying commercial jets, for Christ's sake. I only fly a twin engine. That's it.
Yeah.
And so he got the last laugh, God bless him. And he started doing the movies. And, you know, that is so great when Jack destroys the giant, and Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yeah.
And, you know, and David and Goliath and whatever you call it. And so I was so thrilled and so happy. And then one night on the Jimmy Kimmel show, they wanted him to direct a complete Jimmy Kimmel show. And he goes, well, I ain't going to direct it unless I get Dick Dale here and go from there. And so to have that kind of neatness take place and come to the surface, and that was one of the most wonderful moments.
It's really amazing to see what that song has done over the years. And you know, obviously it was a huge hit for you in the 60s and revitalized again even for the movies and
yes.
commercials.
Well, when my